There's Black in the Cloud. Black Tech Hero of the Month.
Oh, I appreciate that, man. That's an awesome title.
Hey man, you well earned, you earned it. So we're basically gonna take this time just to get to know you, to get to know your story, and to also get some industry insights and advice for those who are wanting to become engineers as well as those who are looking to elevate their careers up and talk about some hot tech topics along the way. So
Awesome. I'm here for it. I'm here for it, man.
all right. So for starters, Jamaican
Yeah.
Jamaica. Are you first generation America, or are you born in Jamaica and you migrated here? How did that go? How did you story?
First gen Canadian, actually.
Wow.
So I'm a Toronto man still. Yeah, man. Like parents, like, yeah, I can trace like my Jamaican lineage right up until like all the way to like the, I want to say, early 20th century.
Wow.
Uh Yeah, but like like if you we visited like Port Royal, so like if you like they can you can actually like look at like the slave documents that are there too, and like yeah, it's all registered too. Like Boston has some records, like yeah, man. So
So were your, I guess, your ancestors, were they originally bought to Jamaica and then they migrated to Canada because it was where freed slaves lived, or how did that?
no. Like I basically traced like I basically traced one of my grandmothers were sold, and then like that was like where
Mm,
we got the tracing, my quote unquote tracing in terms of like lineage. Like we can trace it back to like that's the earliest person that we can identify that are all of our lineage coming from.
wow.
But
So
no,
Africa, right?
no, like I'm not talking like actually like Jamaica. Like she was sold
Oh,
as
okay, gotcha. All right, gotcha. All right, gotcha.
yeah. So my parents came up to Canada in the 70s.
Ah, that's interesting. That's an interesting
Yeah,
time.
there's like a big migration boom in the 70s to Canada, to specifically like Toronto,
Hmm.
lasted between like the 70s and 90s. Like we have arguably we have like the biggest Jamaican community and population outside
Mm.
of the actual island. Like the only country that comes close to us is London, right?
No way. I never knew that. I never knew London
Yeah.
would be second. I thought as many as all the Jamaicans running around New York, Southside Queens, I would think that we at least hold the second title.
Nah, you it would go so Toronto and like London are like A and B,
Wow.
right? One A, one B, like it could go either way.
Wow.
But Miami, Florida would be
No
like
way. For real? How what them Haitians on the South by says? Okay.
there's large Jamaican community in Florida, man. It's like Miami's not too far from Jamaica, similar climate, makes like similar vibe. It makes a lot of sense.
Makes sense. Okay. Makes complete
Then
sense.
New York, then New York, then Atlanta, then Chicago.
Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. Oh
Yeah.
man. All right. So, all right, Jamaican guy, Canadian guy, excuse me. Um, you don't have your red stripe, man. So, it's kind of disappointing, man. I was hoping. Have you heard of Paul Brunson?
No, I haven't.
Like, it's crazy because y'all literally look alike. He's Jamaican, and y'all have like a similar style, man.
You
So
say all Jamaicans? You say all Jamaicans look alike? Is that what you're
no,
trying
no,
to
no,
say?
no, no,
I'm playing
no.
with you.
Like, no. I say it as a compliment because Paul Brunson is this well-established guy. You're a well-established guy. He's proud Jamaican, and you're proud Jamaican. Because, and I don't say that because you put it on a lot of your profiles. So,
I
so
appreciate that, man. One thing Jamaicans are gonna do is claim to be
man,
Jamaican.
rep. That's dope though. So let me ask you this where did that transition into tech come from? Like, what was your background originally starting off? Were you like a gamer and you said, man, in the future, man, I'm gonna be the job father. I'm gonna help a lot of black folks learn how to make these games and businesses in games.
You know what? I actually went to school for broadcasting. So I have a non-tech background. Like my whole intention was to be the Black Larry King when I graduated school.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was like, yo, I have like people used to have like a radio voice, right? Thankfully, they didn't say I had a radio face, right? But they said I had like a radio voice, and so I tried to go like went to like broadcasting, and I actually got a co-hosting position on Sirius XM for like a show.
Well, what
Yeah,
year is this?
this is like 2012,
Okay.
2013.
So Sirius XM radio was still very relevant then. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. This is like before stream. I feel old, man. This is like before streaming and shit.
Not as
So
old as me, I promise. But yeah.
so like, it was called the Norm at Night Show with Storm and Norman Newmack, and we talk sports. I was one of their two basketball analysts.
Oh,
So we
okay.
come in and like we talk about, yeah, like we talk about everything from collegiate level all the way to like international FIBA,
Mm.
Canadian sports, of course the NBA.
So
And
you've been achieving your whole adult life. How did you even go from college broadcasting to getting a radio gig on Sirius Radio at the time? How'd you pull that off?
just know people. Like we were my radio co-host and I, like we were also like big on like videography. So we used to do
Mm.
videography for a couple of basketball sites, right? We go to like this is like this it, I'm not gonna claim this, but
Yeah.
like we contributed to the Canadian basketball like talent boom that we're seeing in the NBA because
Okay.
we were one of those sites that would like go and like shoot
High
highlight
school.
footage
Oh,
for like kids and whatnot, and we would cut it up and we would post it on the website.
dang.
So yeah, we went to school. We went to school with one of the biggest like free collegiate scouts in Canada for North Pole Hoops, and we did video stuff for them, and eventually like our main passion was broadcasting, and
Wow.
some like this host Norm Rumack, Storm and
Yeah.
Norm, who's like an OG 90s legend
It
from when
sounds like
video was
Norman
big in
Norman.
Toronto. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He was like, he's good on hockey and soccer, but like he needs people to bring like some basketball knowledge. So like
Mhm.
we were like my boy and Akeem and I, we were like, because we covered all of like we did like the basketball stuff for like our own college. Like we did the
Gotcha.
radio, we did the play by play. So,
So
he
y'all became like the basketball SMEs for the radio at that time.
not that big, not big at
Oh,
all. Like, we're talking tiny, man. We're talking like we just did it for our school, and like
oh, okay.
we're trying to get like our adult jobs, right?
Gotcha.
For
Gotcha.
for like doing broadcasting. And uh somebody told Norm about us and he invited us on the show, and he liked the dynamic that we all had, so he got us part-time positions to come on the show from 10 to 2 and host and like center their basketball segment.
Crazy,
It
man.
was the best job of all time
Oh my
until it got
God.
canceled 6 months later.
No way.
Yeah, man. And I spent like the next year or so having like different jobs because like you know how you hear about actors holding down like waitresses and waiter jobs,
Yeah, yeah,
you know what I'm saying, while they're trying to like make their big break. So I kind
yeah,
of like
because you
treated
need
it like that.
stability. Yeah.
Exactly. So I went from doing all types of jobs
Mhm.
while trying to get into the radio industry,
Mm.
and that's kind of like where I picked up my like ability and knowledge and just how to like find a new job,
Mhm.
not being afraid of walking out of jobs, right?
Yeah,
Getting myself in like some toxic employers and just doing everything under the sun because
yeah,
I was trying to like make my break into radio.
right.
Things came to a head when I paid a resume writer $650 to make a resume for me. Yeah, they gave me this. I was so desperate at the time. I literally
Yeah,
only had like $800 in my bank account.
talk
So like
about it.
this 650
I
kind
do
of
everything to you.
it kind of broke us. Yeah, it kind of broke me, right?
Yeah.
But it was my last ditch shot. So I got this resume for 6 months of experience. That was 6 pages. And I literally took that resume when they printed it out and I drove to the sports station and I walked through the front door to hand my resume in. And I was like, I want a job. Right. And another Jamaican lady was there who
Oh,
laughed in my
God.
face and like ripped the resume apart,
No way.
said it was too long. She's like, you coming in here, don't know who to talk to, don't know if we have a position, right? She's like, what's wrong with you?
Wow.
Right? Yeah, man. If you ever feel like your ego is too big,
Yeah.
Find a Jamaican woman and she will.
Listen, I was in a relationship with one in Florida,
Oh
so yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I've been there. I've been there.
You're
Yeah.
very humble. You're
Oh yeah.
very
Oh yes, sir.
humility on 100%.
Grateful.
Yeah.
Gratitude is my lifestyle. Absolutely.
Yeah. They will have you reconsidering your life decision.
Ooh, 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 yes.
So this lady was being, I could tell she was being polite because she didn't like cuss me. But
Yeah.
I went home and I studied up on everything I could on resumes and just trying to understand, like truly understand what a resume is and like why people read them. And then I launched my resume writing business. Well, it wasn't even a resume writing business I launched. I literally just made resumes for myself,
Mm,
and it started working. I started getting a lot of different calls. Like
mm.
my friends and I used to have like a betting pool on whether or not I'm gonna hear back from this particular job, and it was a thing where it'd be like they would joke because they'd be like, Jermaine could get laid off, Jermaine could get fired, Jermaine could quit on a
Yeah.
like on a Wednesday or a Thursday, and he'll have a new job by Tuesday, right? His resume is just that good. Uh,
Wow. So
yeah,
hold
and
on.
it,
So
yeah,
it's some. It's I want to slow you down for a bit because you dropped so many gems along the way that I think gonna be so useful to cloud engineers, or those trying to break into the industry. Rejection is a part of the game, and
yeah, it always is.
you learned that early, and you learned how to make uh make those lemons into lemonade. And you used a host of, and I'm bringing this up because we had our last tech hero on last month, Ian, um, um, I can't remember your last name, Lockhart, yeah, and he's a developer, and he mentioned about one of the most important pieces of advice that he would give to parents trying to get their teens into tech is the number one thing is let them grow up because
Yeah,
life experience will give them the tools that they would need to help them become great professionals. And with that, you did broadcasting. You went and walked in, had this major turn down of just budging into the door and bomb rushing and overlooking the process. You went in, you learned about investing significantly in your future by taking a majority of the only money that you had and pouring it into this pursuit. And you've done all those things as a young adult that have all contributed to the professional that you are today because now you are doing a lot of public speaking. You do have a significant platform. You speak very well on your platform. You're a highly successful recruiter. Now you know how to get people in and outs about, like, the ins and outs of what a talent looks like going into it, trying to get a job interview. You know what the HR process is, but all these are things that you gain from just life experience of just going out, trying and living. That I want a lot of the viewers who are going to watch this know that don't discount your past experiences because they're all going to attribute to your future, especially even in tech and as it evolves in tech and as it evolves out of tech. So what was that point for you and you turned it into a business, which you have your business today, so it's so many tools from that. I don't always want potential Black cloud engineers to know that don't discount your past and don't and understand that everything is going to add up eventually. What would you say was that point though where you said that, okay, I'm writing these resumes, I'm building a clientele, I'm doing this semi recruiting thing. It's well, I guess you were doing professional resume. What was the switch? What was that pivoted point where you said, I'm going to go into recruiting and then I'm going to go into tech recruiting at that? What was those stages like?
it was twofold. So, I was working at Enterprise Rental Car as a manager for one of their like truck branches, right?
Hmm.
And I remember I had a really bad day because I had to wear a good suit. And you never want to wear a good suit working a job at Enterprise because they always make every single person, from the person cleaning the car to the manager, is expected to clean the car,
To
right?
wear a suit?
In a suit. They want the
Wow.
uniform as the suit. And sometimes you have to clean a car in a suit outside, no matter what the weather was.
Wow.
Could be 100 degree Fahrenheit. It could be 26 degree Fahrenheit. You're gonna be out there in a suit. You know how ridiculous it is cleaning a car in a suit?
Yes, yes, I do actually. I used to be
So
a security guard in the suit. I'm
in a
like, you know
suit.
how hard it is to throw somebody outside of a club
In
in
a
a
suit.
suit?
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I don't know how like John Wick makes it look like this man is like fighting in a suit,
Yeah.
right? And it's like a well-tailored suit as well. So
No
I
way.
digress. But I had a really bad day, and I remember saying to myself, I want to get out of here.
Yeah, man.
And a recruiter called me up from this place called the Leadership Agency, and he's like, I have a job. I have a job for you that I have a job that I can get you that you're selling construction equipment, right? And they'll give you a free car. And
Mm.
like how much you want to make? And I was like, I want to make 65,000 because right now my salary was like 30,000,
Wow.
and I get like commission, and that commission tops up to maybe like 50, right?
Mm.
I want to move out of my parents' basement, and I'm trying to like I'm dating. I was like, I'm dating a girl right now, and she's Yoruba, she's Nigerian, and like you can't date a Nigerian Yoruba girl broke. It's not gonna work.
So you really got $15,000. Really...
So I took the jump, and like it was a crazy time in my life because my parents had just got divorced,
Oh man.
and our house is up for renewal for the mortgage.
Mm.
And this bump in a salary would have made it easier for us to re-sign the mortgage on our house.
Yeah.
So I go to this job and I accept the job, and it is the worst job I've ever had in my fucking life. Like,
Really?
yeah, man, like it wasn't a good culture fit from the jump. Like I'm a nerd, man. I grew up playing video games in the city. I
Yeah.
was around a bunch of country folk that, talked about like towing was a major aspect of their life. They tow, they were towing their bikes, they were towing their like trailers, they were towing their camping gear. I've never been camping.
Yeah.
Someone says something to me. They asked me if I've ever done something before. I was like, "What the hell is that?" And they're like, "It's a fishing move." I was like, "There are moves in fishing, right?" It was
Water hole fishing.
Yeah, and then things came to a head when I was towing something and the bumper ripped off because I didn't like set the tow.
Yeah.
The bumper ripped off of the truck, so I didn't set the tow properly. And like literally the day before we were gonna go sign the mortgage for our house, I got fired. Right?
Damn.
I got fired, and we couldn't,
Man, I know how that
yeah,
feels.
we couldn't re-sign the mortgage on the house. The divorce had a lot of debt that my parents had, so we were forced to sell our house. And literally like I remember I was feeling so depressed, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna flip this whole thing on the head. What, like, let me think about scenarios that are gonna make me happy. And
Mm.
I was like, what's something that would make me happy? Well, like, what would I do for a living that would make me happy? And I'm a huge gamer, right? Huge nerd. I'm wearing an X-Men hoodie, right, for right now.
Okay. Yes, you are.
And
Okay.
I remember saying to myself, I would love to work in video games, right? I
Mm.
would love to work for like PlayStation or something like that. So I went on PlayStation's website and I looked at all the jobs that, were talking would be like the number one skill that I wouldn't like. I always get in trouble for talking. All right. So I was like, let me find a job where I won't get in trouble for talking.
Yeah.
And I came across a job posting for a technical recruiter job. And I
Mm.
was like, technical recruiter. And I remember the recruiter that recruited me for that construction job. And I was like, oh, I didn't even think about being able to do his job. I was like, I could definitely do his job better than him because like he sucked at every aspect of it. Like,
Oh, the
I
recruiter that got you the $60,000 job.
yeah. I
Right.
was like, I only went because he had a good offer of like
Yeah.
60,000 a truck,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And he didn't do his job properly because if he got time to like get to know me, he would have realized that like this is not gonna work,
Mm.
right? So I decided to like, you know what? I'm reading the job description. I'm like, yo, I want to work as a recruiter at PlayStation, but PlayStation won't hire me because I don't have enough recruiting experience. So I was like, let me go become a technical recruiter, find like an entry level recruiter job, and
Right.
then come back in like 5 years and apply at PlayStation. And
Right.
that's kind of how I got in.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's how you got into tech recruiting.
So I got into tech recruiting.
Wow. So And here's I mean, listen, it's a lot to what you're saying, and it's because I only say this because I read so many comments when I post this on my YouTube and when I go back to the group with
Yeah.
this. Um, they have to understand and know that many of us blacks who have achieved and become successful in tech, a lot of us don't come from traditional backgrounds, and a lot of us have overcome adversity after adversity after adversity, such as yourself. And you did this one thing that I always say that differentiate. That's like I don't know if it's a innate thing that black people have, but it's this thing that is funny because Will Smith stated it in his recent movie Emancipation, but persistence. No one can teach you persistence, and you displayed that because there wasn't. From your story, it sounds like there was no one really guiding you around and telling you, "Oh, well, do this, do that, do this, do that. It's going to get you here." You were kind of figuring this all out by trial and error, by fire. And what I guess where do you think that comes from within you? Because I noticed that in a lot of great black tech professionals I talk to, they always have this story of overcoming, and figuring out. And of course, we get to this level where we become consultants to our people on helping them not have to go the path we had to go. Where do you think that came from in you, having to do this alone without the encouragement, without the mentorship of telling you exactly where did all this persistence come from?
I mentioned earlier that I'm able to trace my lineage on the island to my great grandmother who was sold, right?
So okay.
And I was like, I remember, like I don't know why, but I remember when I first found out, I was kind of like I was just sad and I felt a little bit ashamed because I was like, like we were just sold as like cattle, right? But then I realized that it became a sense of like pride for me because I realized that we're fucking survivors, right? And like, you know what I'm saying? And like through the course of history and centuries, like my family are like still here, right? We're still some of us are still surviving, some of us are still thriving. But it made me realize that I can't give up, right? As long as I got some fight in me, like I'm never just gonna give up. Right? I'm never just gonna like let go. Like I come from a lineage of survivors, right? Who've like survived far more than what's in front of me right now. So if we could survive slavery, I could survive anything at this point. I was just like, I was
We
like,
could survive. Hold on, that need to go on a t-shirt. If we could
well, you got one on. There you go.
Sorry, T. I gotta take this off. I gotta get that new slogan. But if we could survive slavery, we could survive everything. I promise you, that was one of my thoughts at one point. My main thing that I always say is that I might as well learn it and do it now because if I was in prison, they'll make me do it for free anyway.
Exactly, something like that. And it's just like, it's like I also realized that I always like I remember when I was going through. Sometimes I used to go through. I used to get like terrified, petrified, right? Because I'd be like, "Yo, like this is about to happen to me. This is about to happen to me." And like the only comfort I could ever give myself was saying that like I'm not powerless. I can do something against this, right? And like I will sleep easier knowing that if I'm gonna go down, I'm gonna go down swinging, right? Go down fighting, and then I realized that like because I kept winning these fights, these inner fights with myself, and I've started getting results that I wanted, I realized that I do my best work with my back against the wall. Right. I do my best work when it matters most, when like I have that like flight or fight instinct tapped in, right?
Yeah.
And it started becoming like a place of comfort for me. So I didn't give up because I knew that the version of me that it was going to be on the other side of this was going to be a very dangerous version. And like I remember, I'm not an overly religious man, but my mom's pastor saw me like my mom. I was like depressed because shit was still like hard. And my mom brought me to church, and I was like, why not, right? And my mom's pastor, took me aside because he's like, I could see your spirit. It's kind of like hurt right now. And he's like, what's wrong? And I told him my frustration about my career, with lack of sense and direction and purpose in my life, and just feeling whatless, right?
Mm.
And he looked at me and he's like, I want you to repeat after me. Where I'm at is just where I'm at, but it's not where I'm at.
Mm.
He's like, I want you to repeat that.
Where I'm at.
Where I'm at is just where I'm at, but it's not where I'm at. And he's like, do you understand me?
Damn.
And I was like, shit, I do. And he's like, keep on going.
Damn.
Right? Because like he's like, it's like visualization, and it's all about conceiving. And if you visualize what you want and you just continue working backwards, right? Having the direction is half the fight, right? So where you're at right now is the shit that you're at is just where you're at. It's just your current location. But like, if you have a direction and you're insistent on moving forward, you're gonna move past that, because that's not where your mentality is. Where I start is not where I'm gonna finish. You understand me? Right? So, like, between that, you know what I'm saying? That my lineage, like, I couldn't give up, and I refuse to give up. Like, Jamaicans have a huge sense of pride as well, right? I refuse to let anything as simple as like someone telling me no, or to decide my fate or my career. Like, nah, that's me, right? I will make all the decisions, right? And I know my value and I know my worth. So like, I'm not coming to these people begging them. I'm coming to these people being like, we should partner in the form of an employee-employer relationship, because I know how you're gonna benefit. You pay me 100, I'm gonna give you back $500,000 in value, right? If you don't want it, like I remember when I got my first recruitment job.
Yeah.
On the last interview, the manager asked me, if we don't like, things were going really well. I felt like I knew was like, when you feel like you're gonna get the job, or like, you're performing at like your absolute peak, and something catastrophic is the only way that this is gonna derail it, right? So I'm in the final interview, conversation going well. And then like the manager, she gets serious and she's like, what are you going to do if we don't offer you this job? If we decide to go with someone else, what would you do? And I said to her, like, I kind of like serious up. We were still doing in-person interviews at this time too. So I took the train from the suburban Toronto all the way to the core. And I remember I was in a suit, right? And I remember I looked her in the eye and I was like, if you guys don't give me the job, I will go to every single one of your competitors until one of them gives me the job. And then I will make you regret not giving me the job when you had the chance. They gave me the offer on the train back home. Like, they called me and they're like, oh, you got the job. And I was like, I was serious about it.
The pursuit of happiness is going on. How did you, like, that's cojones, but that's also cerebralness of understanding the marketplace.
Yeah, like, if someone's gonna give me this job, someone's gonna get a finder fee. It's run with me or run from me.
Oh, this is so wild. It's so, man. And I say I'm the reason I'm going crazy over this. What you're saying is because I run into we definitely want you to dive more into this, but I run into so many aspiring engineers, Black engineers, who I always try to relay the message to them that all of these workshops, boot camps, training modules, booklets, whatever, what have you, certifications, all of them work to an extent. They all work. All methods work. They work for somebody. What's the missing piece is always going to be you making it work for you. Because you're going to always run into speed bumps. You're always going to run into hurdles. You're always going to run into rejection. But you pick a method, you commit to the method, no matter what, you see it through success. That 90% of being a successful cloud engineer is really is showing up and being the best, contributing the best that you have to offer day in and day out. It's all a mental game more than it is the technical piece is the logical piece that can be handled and figured out. But if you're nervous because you don't feel like you're good enough to compute, to push things to the pipeline, they might find you out and find that you're this imposter syndrome, so you don't take on certain tasks during your Jira task or what have you. You're gonna push yourself out the door more than an employer is going to push you out the door, because you're when you get these roles and you get hired, don't take it for granted, because you're literally competing with candidates from around the world, and you're all competing for the same role. So when you get this role, it might not always, especially if you're coming in as an entry-level engineer, might not be the money that you want initially, but it's the opportunity. And if you take that opportunity, you can go a lot further and eventually get the money that you want. But you got hired because you're one of the best in the world for this specific role, and the opportunities presented to you, took advantage. But so you got to dial in on that.
In this specific scenario, like exactly when you're across the street from them, you need to. I've always approached interviews, conversations, and anything in general in life as putting myself in the perspective of the other person and saying, what is it that I need? What is it that this person needs to hear in order for them to think that what I want is also what they want and is beneficial to them, right? How is this person, if I'm in an interview, when I'm talking, all my answers are geared around what are this person's needs and how can I communicate? What do they need to hear from me that communicates? If I hire Jermaine, it's gonna make my life easier, right?
I love
and
it.
Like if you can go throughout your life, and if you can master the skill of being able to identify what people's needs are and being able to align it with your own goals. And if you develop the cojones to articulate that you want something from this person, and if they work in tandem with you, they'll also benefit. You will go very far in life, right? Politics, you can go in politics, you can go in sales, you can go in marketing. If you can understand what people need to hear to communicate that this is going to be of value to them, you go far.
When did you hit your stride? Like when you became a tech recruiter, when did you get to that point of where, oh shit, I'm pretty good at this. Like I proved it to myself to get the role. I'm close to earning the kind of money that I should be earning, proving my value, and I'm just getting great candidates in roles and positions time after this consistently. Like you've almost developed your own system for yourself that you've become so successful. Like what point did you hit that stride where you could kind of be like, okay, I'm not an imposter. I really am a great, jobs people, tech recruiter, business owner, business professional. Like when did you hit that stride in your career?
I would say I hit that stride when I became mission focused and I completely disregarded finances and money with regards to my mission, because I'm all about intention, right? The reason why I was able to say I'll go to your competitors, to that employer, is because my intention was to get a job as a recruiter, and nobody was going to stop me. Somebody was going to give me that job regardless, right? And somebody saying no was not going to deter me from that. They did not define that for me. So I realized when I got the job, right, that intention and execution matters more than anything else, right? And intention determines what you determines your actions. So towards the end of 2018, we got this guy a job. He was a Russian gentleman, and he came in the office. He was super happy, and we got him. He said we got him a remote job. Right, this is 2018. We got a remote job before there was really a really real thing.
Yeah,
he told me that he's a fresh immigrant, had to work out in Calgary, which is pretty much like Canada's Texas. Away from his family, and his son was born just a little bit before he left, right? But he missed his son's first steps and first words working away. So he was like, yo, you help me get a job that I can walk my son to daycare every single day. Never gonna miss another moment in his life, right? And this is this is just fresh off of my parents' divorce. My dad and I aren't really talking like that. And I kind of just do like this introverted, this introspective thing where I'm like, I got a complicated shit with my dad, and I think it could trace it all back to money.
Mm.
Same thing with all of my friends. And I was like, I like this dude's story, but God, I wish he was black. Right?
Yeah.
I said it. I was like, I wish he was black.
Yeah.
And I was like, I could do something about that.
Mm.
Like next time, I have one of these moments, I want it to be with another black person because we can do the right, and we know what this means, right? So I started going to events like 4 times a week, like in-person events, and my goal was to just be aware of the general tech community around me, but also to meet as many black people in tech as possible, right? Started a WhatsApp group, and just getting people into this WhatsApp group. And at the top of 2019, I was like, all right, I'm gonna see how many black people I can get jobs, right? And I'm gonna use this WhatsApp group. And like in the first 2 months, I helped 16 people get jobs, right? Black people from my WhatsApp group, right? Most of them were jobs that I actually had direct placements in, or that the greater team that I worked among worked in. So it'd be like a job would come in, I put it in the group, right? Somebody would get it. I would coach them on the interview on like how to present their best self, all that jazz. They kill the interview, get the offer. I'd help them negotiate the offer. I'm not supposed to do this, right? As a agency recruiter, you're not supposed to do this, right? But I said, fuck it, I did it anyway, right?
They doing backdoor deals all the time, goddamn.
They would get the job and a high five, and I was like, yo, I'm gonna try and get I was like, by the end of like Q2,
from various background experiences,
various backgrounds. Like initially it was like all networking and engineers, but like the WhatsApp group grew to like include marketer. It grew like 400 people. It's still actually going on. I'm still part of it, but now I have like someone else running it.
Yeah, we definitely gonna need to plug on that WhatsApp at the end.
Yeah. And like I was like, I made the group and I was like, this is just for us to I share jobs in here, but I want us to share news, insights, secrets, whatever have you. And I was like, if anybody in this group has an interview coming up and they want an interview prep, I want them to message me and I will prep them for their interview, even if it's not for a job that I'm recruiting for. If it's from another recruitment agency, fuck it, I don't care, right? You could be up for a job that I sent you for, or for another recruitment agency sent you for. And if you go with the other agency, I miss out on my commission. But if you get the job, that's still a win for me because I don't care about what I'm saying? Like it's bigger than that.
That's
so
integrity, man.
You know what I'm saying? So like the WhatsApp group grew, and like I felt like I started hitting my stride when a Nigerian member of the group made this joke. He called me. He's like, yo, I was talking to a family friend of mine, and I was like, she's coming from Nigeria. She just got her PR. She's gonna land, and I was like, here's what you do. You are going to, when you land, you're going to call your mom, and you're gonna tell her that you landed safely. And he's like, and then you're gonna call this man, Jermaine, and say that you need a job, and he's gonna help you get a job.
I like that. I like that. Hey, listen, man. You the Harriet Tubman of tech right now, man.
Yo, and when he said that to me, I was like, people are coming here and they're saying like Jermaine should be the second person you call. Like,
that's big.
Yeah, man. I was so hyped, right? So like, I actually changed employers like 3 times in 2019, right? Because like I left the employer that I was at because they gave me grief. Like the manager took me aside and she was like, "You're the only black recruiter on our team, and all the people you're submitting are black." And I was like, she's like, you can't be the only black recruiter on the team and all the people you submit are black. It looks away, right? And I was like, I got upset and I was like, this is where I came up with my tagline. I was like, yo, like, that makes no fucking sense. you can't overrepresent for an underrepresented group.
I
Like
love that post. I love
I
that
was like,
post.
yo, black people represent less than in Canada, less than 4% of the tech workforce, despite being 12% of the like despite being like 8% of the population, right? I was like, you need to start asking why all the only black candidates you come across are coming from me, not you, not like not
Boom.
like you know what I'm
Clip.
saying. So
That's a clip. Clip.
yeah, so she and I kind of got on the outs, and I ended up going to another. I ended up going to another agency. It was a fucking nightmare. They
Mm.
they had asked me not to talk black. I was like, that is whack. Not doing that. And I ended up leaving Toronto and moving to Montreal, the French part of Canada,
Mm-hmm.
because I was like, I want to continue growing and I need to do the most uncomfortable thing imaginable. I
Yeah.
don't want to leave Toronto. I'm gonna leave Toronto and I was like, if I'm gonna leave Toronto, I'm gonna go to a place that's not easy. I'm gonna go to a place that like is just I've never been to, not part of my world. The only thing I got is a job, right?
Mm-hmm.
And see what's good. And I started applying outside of Toronto. I got offers in New York. I got offers in London. So I'm a dual citizen, so I can work in the UK.
Wow.
Uh, I got offers in Vancouver and I got an offer in Montreal. And I chose Montreal because I had no people in Montreal. I've never been to Montreal. I don't
Mm.
speak French, right? I was like, this
I
could go
know.
left, it can go right, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna grow. Like, I'm not
You're
coming
not gonna
back to the
stop
city.
me.
Yeah. And at that, and I was still doing the WhatsApp thing with the people in our WhatsApp group, and we ended the year at 67. I helped 67 black people get jobs in
Damn,
tech in
man.
2019.
Those are
I was like,
67 lives and families that you changed
changed.
generations going forward forever, man.
Yeah, man. It was. I was impressed, and then like the egotistical
Right,
dude in
right.
me was
I
like,
can do more. Right.
yeah, dead ass. I was like, I could do 100, right?
God
And
damn. And this is what happens
it,
when you're ambitious at a young age and you've been through so much and you endure so much, you develop your ego develops this confidence that it's
yeah,
like nothing is ever really good enough because you're
yeah.
like, I can do more.
Yeah, so I'm in this infinite loop and circle of like satisfaction and dissatisfaction. So like I came out the gate storming in 2020.
You were truly
I had a
like
whole bunch of
Wolverine.
yeah, I had a whole bunch of other recruiters from other agencies so they can put their jobs in there so
Yeah.
more people could get opportunities, so more people could ask me for help. So I you know what I'm saying? So it was crazy and we were hitting our stride. I did like in the same time span I did 16 the year before. I did 42. And I was like, this is bananas. And then
It
COVID
is,
happened.
man. You are a tech generating factory on your own, man.
It was crazy. I was barely sleeping, but I had so much fun.
Let me ask you this. So what would you say is from your experience is the biggest detriment that a black person who's aspiring to become an engineer or even an engineer who's already in the field looking to grow their career in tech, what is the biggest detriment that they can do to themselves or the biggest obstacle you see that they face that's controllable from their side?
Being afraid that they're going to come across as arrogant or ego driven if they speak life into their achievements. I've
Mhm.
always lived by this philosophy that if you're going to own your fuck ups, you have to own your achievements as well. Like people are so quick to take accountability for their mistakes, but they won't take accountability for their wins. And it's just the way that society has conditioned us, right? So, like, in it, and like an interview is a place where you're supposed to be bragging about yourself, right? Don't come into this humble, like, don't come into this conceding whatever power you have in the dynamic because
Mm.
you think they're doing you a favor by giving you a job. No, it's a business partnership. Like I said, if I'm coming into an environment and you giving me 100K, it's because you believe that of that 100K, you're gonna get a 5x return, right?
Mm.
That means if I vacate my position, you got $500,000. Does that sound like does that sound like a subservient relationship? No, that's a business partnership, right? It's $500,000 hurts.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I'm like, like especially like for a lot of the black people that I coach, you like society has like conditioned us to not like speak life into our achievements, right?
Mm.
Uppity Negro shit type of shit, and like we need to understand that these interviews are conversations in confidence, where
Mm.
people evaluate us based on how much confidence we project and we still into them on whether or not we can get the job done. My interview philosophy is that when you're in an interview, you never want to leave the conversation, or you never want the end of your sentence to be one that does not instill confidence all the time. Somebody asks you, yo, what's your biggest weakness? Someone asks you right now, what's your biggest weakness? I'm telling them my organization skills are my biggest weakness. But I'm
Mm.
not just leaving it there, because if I just left it there, you're going to be like, oh, this dude is a complete mess.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm going to tell you that I am self-aware enough to realize that my organization skills are my biggest weakness. So I overcompensate by using technology
Mm.
to make sure that my shit is straight, to make sure that I'm always on key. Like, I live and die with my calendar. You know this. We just had this
Yeah,
conversation this morning.
big
I was
facts.
like, I was like,
You know,
yo, if
which
you did
email
it,
did you send
you
it
know what
to?
I'm
We
saying?
learned to get out. I was like, hey.
I was like, I didn't, because like, to give you guys some backstory, I didn't get the calendar invite
Yeah,
for our event. I think there was a
yeah,
calendar issue,
yeah, yeah,
and it's because you messaged me
yeah.
that I was like, oh shit, I got this today, but it's not in the calendar,
Right,
right? I
right.
live and die by my calendar.
Yes, you
So,
do. Yep.
and I maintain by like, if, like, I always tell people, like, if it's not in the calendar and you want it to happen, and I tell you to put it in the calendar and you don't put it in the calendar,
It's
it's
not
not good
high.
business. You don't feel guilty, right?
Yeah,
To
yeah,
the point where it's almost like a character trait. So, like,
yeah.
yeah, my organization skills are my biggest weakness, but like, I'm self-aware enough to overcompensate on like the problem solving side, which is a
Yeah.
strength, to make sure that it doesn't get in the way of me getting my job done, right?
Mm.
And that's how you answer like every single question they try to throw you. You got to make sure that you leave off where you feel like a complete boss, a don, like you're at the
Mm.
top of your game. They can't disturb you. If they ask you, they ask you, like, I even say, like, interview questions can be answered in one of two ways. Either you're telling them how you solved the problem historically from your background, or you're telling them how you would leverage your experience to solve the problem in the future, and you're detailing the outline steps of you either either you solving the problem or
Mhm.
identifying the solution, identifying how your steps to identifying the solution on
Mm.
how to solve the problem. But you never leave off on a claim of weakness. You always gonna get the job done. If it's a goal, like I said, what's your intention? My intention is to finish the job. I'm gonna finish
Mm.
the job. I'm gonna do it well. I'm gonna tell you how I'm gonna do it, right? Not
Mm.
that I don't know. I don't know. I'm never gonna
Right,
say that anymore, right? So
right.
it's that would be, I would say, the biggest area of opportunity for Black people, for
Mhm.
us, for anybody looking to get into any type of role. It's being it's mastering the ability to speak confidence into what you've achieved. And if anybody reads that as arrogance, that's their problem, right? It's not an environment for you to be in then.
Yeah. I love that. I want to open it up for Q&A with our last 10 minutes. Again, appreciate for your time, man. I appreciate you for even, with the calendar thing, still jumping on the call for us, man. And definitely enlighten us with your story. If y'all have any questions, please either you can unmute yourself and ask your question, or type it in the chat. I want to throw one more question in at you while they're generating their questions. Is that what would you say is the most common trait that you see from Black engineers who actually do well in this industry, who go on to have the type of job, work lifestyle that they want, working for the type of company they want, and the type of roles that they want? What are the common traits that you see among those Blacks that if Blacks themselves who are looking to get in, or again escalate their careers, if they adopted those traits, it would do wonders for them as well?
They never stop having conversations that could forward their career, i.e., they take every single interview request, that the interview opportunity that comes their way, even when they're not looking. They have contacts with recruiters. They stay up to date with the news, and they just keep their eye on an application, and they keep their resume fresh. They're not afraid to job hop, right? The quickest way for you to increase your salary is to job hop, right? In when I moved the employer 3 times. Remember, I told you I was trying to get
Yeah,
60.
you did that in 1 year,
I
right?
I went from a salary of 50 to a salary of 65 to a salary of 80 by the end of the year, just for jumping off of just for job hopping, right? And they were all the jobs were on the same level, and I didn't stop until I was happy with the pay and happy with the environment that I was in. I mean, I had to move cities, right? But like again, what is your intention? What do you really want?
Okay. Monica, I'm gonna see if I can unmute you. Go ahead, Monica. Ask your question regarding assistance with an assessor position. I don't know if you okay.
Hi, good afternoon. How are you all? How's everyone?
Hey Monica, nice to meet you. Thanks for coming through.
You're welcome. Thanks for the invite, D'Amicos.
My
Okay.
pleasure.
Yeah, I'm not all over the place. I was in a dev ops class, but it wasn't the best for me. It wasn't a good fit. So I have pivoted until I find a good class that's for me into the RMF framework assessor position. And I'm just trying to like, okay, which direction do I need to go in to get my foot in the door?
Um, so you're trying to become a DevOps engineer?
I'm still gonna circle back to that, but right now I'm more into the assessing type of roles. If you're familiar with that, either of you at all,
Assessing what exactly?
controls like with the NIST, FIPS 199, things like
Gotcha.
that. Yeah.
So I would say, so and you're feeling lost in just terms of the next step, or just how to just break?
Yeah, with the next step, and well, actually both with how to break in and there's the next steps. It's just a little bit much, but like you said, if we can survive slavery, we can survive anything.
Exactly. So, question for you, Monica. Do you have experience working in the industry already, or are you trying to just make the transition as a whole?
I have some, well, as far as labs and things like that, I have some experience with that. With the actual workplace experience, no, not so much. I also have my networking plus certification, and I'm about 60 days out with taking my security plus cert.
When you say labs, do you mean are these curriculum-based labs or self-study labs?
Yes, curriculum-based labs, yeah.
Okay, so what I would say, so I always look at these at the job process in three stages: application, interview, and negotiation. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You're stuck at the application phase, right?
Yeah.
The reason why you're stuck at the application phase is because your application isn't strong enough to get by and to get past it. And either that's because the information isn't presented correctly or the information on the resume isn't compelling enough, right?
Okay.
It may be a bit of both, but I think the core problem is that it's not compelling enough because it's not making you stand out. If your labs or your hands-on examples is stuff that you've only been doing from your curriculum, that means everyone else that's done that curriculum has the exact same profile. So
Okay.
you need to like make your things more compelling, and that means getting on-hands project work. You can either invest and look into building up a home lab, maybe grabbing a Raspberry Pi and experimenting with that.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Or you could look into going into consulting, where you look for well antiquated businesses that still haven't really jumped into the 21st century and offer them advice and pieces on what they can do to improve their networking setup. If they pay you good, but like if the intention is to get more complicated work onto your resume, it isn't like don't let like the fact that they might not have the budget. I mean, times are hard, but don't let the fact that they might not have the budget stop you from getting done, because if you can reproduce the systems of success and get someone to co-sign that you did the work for them, they're a client.
Okay. That's so helpful.
I love that, and I also want to throw in there. Actually, Jermaine. I'm glad you said that about going into consulting, because I want a lot of Black engineers to know that, yeah, that is you're volunteering your services, though you're an amateur or a junior in this technical area, but at the same time you're solving a real world problem, and you put that on your resume, and then you also can speak to that in your experiences. So I'm gonna use that one. That's great. I also want to contribute to the labs or the projects that you complete. I'm glad that Jermaine wanted to differentiate between the ones that you're learning as you're getting your certification versus the ones you do outside. The ones you do outside, they have available on Udemy, Pluralsight, Test Score is one as well. But they have real world labs that solve real world problems that you could also do their projects. And I like to refer to those as projects as outside of just labs, because again, it looks better on the algorithms. And it's more independent based than attached to like a course trying to learn a cert. So also look into labs that solve real world problems, and go and just find, and even to make it a little bit easier for you, go for controls type roles or assessor controls type roles. Go to the first jobs page, which is on Indeed or Career Build, what have you. Look at the objectives of the role itself, like probably 6 different jobs, and just choose the top 3 objectives and complete those objectives in a lab as a project. And then you can add that project to your resume, and therefore your it picks up on the algorithms, because the tools that that job mentions or the project that's mentioned are mentioned in their objectives. You get picked up on the algorithms for the recruiters, but at the same time, you can speak to it in your actual interviews, and hiring managers become impressed, and even technical managers, because you're actually solving problems. You're likely solving problems that they already have. The objectives that they state that they want engineers to do are basically an output of the problems, the deficits that they have within their current company, that they need people to help fill those gaps for. And so if you can speak to at least most of those, or at least half of those, especially when you go into an entry-level role or a lower mid-level role, it'll give you a lot of favoritism in those interviews when it comes to, subsequenting your lack of work experience, if that makes sense. You think about that, Jermaine?
I agree with it. I would say, so I would just be careful on the whole idea around recruiters and algorithms.
Okay.
Like our algorithms, we do find people via keyword searches, but when you apply to like a job, it's not an algorithm that's gonna like delete your resume or like bounce your resume if you don't have certain keywords in it. But I do think like, yeah, it all comes down again to like answering that fundamental question. If I put myself in this person's position or their shoes, what information do I have to communicate to them that's going to let them know, like, hey, this person's going to make my life easier, right? What would make someone's life easier if they're a manager, right? And start asking those crucial questions, like not having to teach as much, right? Or maybe being able to work with someone that can work autonomously. So you want to be able to like build yourself up and like build your profile up to a point where it's clear that you are somebody that can work well autonomously, for instance.
Does all of this make sense or add some value to what you're doing, Monica? Some clarity? Oh, she must be.
It does.
You good so far? You good?
Yes, I'm good. Thank you.
All right, cool. All right.
I think you're on mute, D'Amicos.
Damn, I muted myself. I was trying to mute. Last one. And I want to kind of harp on this. You see a lot of Black engineers trying to break into the industry, running, and I've made TikToks about this. I've had conversations with other engineers about this, running fast to these AWS solutions architect certifications when they have no technical background, no experience in the industry at all, but hoping that their first role they land is a solutions architect. What do you have to say when it comes to being able to differentiate them needed to be realistic about their approach to cloud or in tech roles versus them going after what they see that's popular that everybody else is doing and not having a understanding of what these offerings are, these certification offerings are?
I think this goes back to being able to do proper research and just knowing where you're trying to go. I would just say this: a cert by itself is not going to be able to get you a job. Certs actually work best retroactively, and what I mean by that is, let's say you demonstrated the skill in the workplace by doing a project that requires you to learn the skill on hand, and like you've been doing those kind of projects ever since. You would want to get a cert because the third-party institution is going to be able to retroactively validate and give credibility to those skills, right? But if you don't have that, a cert is just a piece of paper. It's the same thing with degrees from high institutions that don't have like strong internship programs. So you shouldn't be getting a cert if you don't understand what kind of like skills that cert can already like build upon for you, and B, what jobs that cert is also going to be able to like quote unquote help you land or be applicable to. And you can search up the certs. You can do like a keyword search to look for like job descriptions with that certification in it to see what jobs are. But like even then, like your research should be around like, you know, what job I want and then what I have to do retroactively to get it.
Man, that's beautiful, man. Key, know your role, know the roles that you want before you just go out there jumping after every certain boot camp and course, and then you end up getting into it, not liking it, or getting stuck. Just know what you want and research that role thoroughly, and do the things that's required to get it, as Jermaine stated. So, so final, you're getting out of here. Appreciate it again for your time, Jermaine, man. Grateful,
Pleasure.
man.
Thanks for having me.
You guys have to follow this guy on LinkedIn, man. I mean, you light up my life, man. Listen, I don't think highly. I always have this hate-love relationship with recruiters, always. But man, you were one of the ones that stood out for me, man. I was like, this guy knows the industry, and this guy knows the BS that a lot of these companies exhibit towards employees, and he's proud to be a Black man in this industry. Doesn't shy away from it, which is rare to see from someone who's at his level. So I love doing what you're doing. If you had to choose between Marvel and X-Men, which one you going for, and who's your favorite character?
Oh, Marvel and X-Men are the same thing.
Ah, yeah, damn, you're right. Marvel and DC, sorry.
It comes down to what if I'm going for movies right now.
Movies.
I think if I wanted to go with a movie that would like had a higher chance of impressing me, I would go DC. But if I wanted to go with a movie that had a higher chance of being good, I would go Marvel because Marvel's more consistent. Yeah. Right? DC's got higher peaks and valleys. Like the highs are highs, the lows are
that Hugh Jackson last one.
Yeah. So the Batman was one of my favorite films like last year. So the Batman 2 came out.
Yeah.
I'm picking that over any Marvel film, but like Captain Shazam 2.
Oh yeah.
I think I would choose a Marvel film instead. But like, yeah, that's Batman's my favorite character of all time.
Yeah. All right. Great to hear, man. Yeah, that's all we got for you. Oh, and can you tell people how they can get in touch with you, how they can reach you? Because they're gonna want to get their resumes done. They're gonna want to know what services you offer. And they're definitely gonna want to know that WhatsApp. They're gonna WhatsApp, man.
So you can follow me on LinkedIn at Jermaine L. Murray. You can follow me on Twitter at Jermaine Jupiter. Or you can go to my website at just jupiterhr.ca. Yeah, and I'd be more than happy to link up with anybody. Thank you again for having me.
No, man, pleasure, man. All right, man, you be great, man. And I'll send you a copy of this.
Awesome. Thank you. All the best.
All right, everybody. We out.